Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I'm Ben. I'm joined here by Dylan and Brian, and we are here to talk about episode 4 of Survivor 42. This was a kind of a return to normalcy, I would say, from last week's very interestingly edited episode. It's kind of pretty straightforward episode for the most part. No weird, crazy twists, which I'm a fan of. We had a standard reward challenge, standard immunity challenge, normal tribal council for the most part. Yeah.
It was good. I mean, the less time we can spend on Shipwheel Island, the better. I think we all agree on that. It goes back to what we talked about last week. It does feel like season 41 was a test run, so that season 42 can be paced a little bit better, and it's really showing like that they did take stuff from 41 and be like, what worked, what didn't, let's adjust it. And I think this season's a lot better for that. I don't know if you agree, Dylan.
Yeah, I think it was a more tame episode, but I don't think it was a necessarily boring episode. I think we just we kind of mellowed out, especially after the tribal council we had last week. It's nice to see Jonathan continue to just dominate everything. I think that I thought that was really cool to see because I think his lore is just continuing to build. But still, overall, I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad, which is nice. There was nothing that there was a few things players did that I rolled my eyes at, but there was nothing that like the show did that I rolled my eyes at. So I still take that as a positive, and I'm still, this cast has me hooked overall. So I can deal with a nice little tame week because I feel like either next week or the week after is just going to pop off again.
Yeah. I guess so we can go through here. So we start off. We have is Taku, right?
Yep, the orange.
Okay. Yeah, Taku tribe coming back from tribal council.
Oh, sorry. The green tribe. I don't know what their name.
Yeah, I can't remember what their one is. It's Taku, Ika, and is it Uvu?
I think it's Uvu, or was it Uvu last year? We'll go with Uvu. They're Uvu now.
Well, regardless, that tribe comes back from Vati. Is the name Vati?
Vati, yes.
Right.
Vati comes back from tribal council, and Daniel just like continuing to down this downward trend is like I don't want to talk about what just happened tonight, which is very bad because you're definitely when you do what he did, you have to be immediately jumping into some kind of defense mode, right? At least to a degree. You have to start going hard on the PR, and if you're not going to do it, other people are going to do it, right? This is not like kindergarten Survivor. It's not like, oh, we're all going to pretend like Survivor is off for the night because we're all tired. If you leave an opening, somebody else is going to take it. So
I love that shit tell basically like, well, okay, you don't have to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it.
Exactly.
Dude, you threw me underneath the bus. Yeah, I'm glad we got that right away, and I'm glad that this isn't a tribe full of like idiots. Of like, oh, maybe everybody immediately was like, Daniel is a snake, and we all know it. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, I thought Hai gave Daniel maybe even too much credit. He's like, oh, Daniel's a lawyer. He can talk circles around us. Like, can he though? Because I don't get that vibe.
I don't.
Well, he did then follow it up with though that saying that Daniel has no backbone, and he folded immediately, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
So
I think it was interesting to see Mike too, because I think that this clearly is going to blow up the idol thing with Mike. I was a little surprised to not see him say the word later in the show, but I think that this blows that up too, so that makes things a little more interesting there. I thought it was the type of thing where if they made Tribe tonight, he was gone without a doubt in my eyes. I think it's that fractured. If he somehow manages to make a merge, good for him, because that's exactly what he needs. But I think the next tribal is he's done. I think it was that bad of a showing, and tonight it's nice to see that it was that bad for them, not just the viewer too.
Yeah, I would agree.
One very interesting thing that I saw on Twitter last week after we recorded, though, was they had like the screenshot of the rules, and the season before, I believe the idol did not, like, if you made the merge without it being activated, it was dead. The rules for this season say that if you make the merge, the idol is active now, and like you don't have the vote penalty anymore. That's like a very interesting kind of wrinkle in all this, where like, you know, Marianne's like complaining like, oh, nobody is saying their thing, and it doesn't matter. You can just hold it and get to the merge if you feel like your tribe can win out. Which, like, I mean, for Marianne, Mike maybe not so much, but Marianne, she seems in a good spot with Jonathan to just kind of coast into the merge with an idol.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sold 100% on that. But that makes me want to look at the rules myself then, because does that mean that what Mike is doing is actually just like 100% correct? Because as long as you don't super need your vote, right, you can potentially, well, it's not as big of a thing for Mike because his whole tribe knows he has an idol now, but
yeah, right.
But in theory, you could tell nobody and just never say your phrase, and then coast to the merge with your social skills, and then have this idol and have all of the other people who have the idol expose themselves. And so it just seems very odd.
Well, you're making the mistake of thinking that people in this season would keep any sort of secret to themselves, because everyone in the season has the biggest mouth ever. So I think that maybe production knew that, and they're like, "Wow, these people can't shut up." Like,
Yeah. Impossible challenge. Keep something to yourself.
I will say, to piggyback off Ben, I didn't realize that was how that worked either. The season was that they basically have infinite amount of time to get there. I'm not calling you an absolute liar, Brian, but I'm not saying that you're telling the truth either. So
I only saw because Evie from last season tweeted like, "This is not how it worked on our season. The idol was gonna be dead at the merge." So I was like, "Oh, that is very interesting."
I don't know if I realized that last year too. I mean, it makes total sense for the way it works, but I don't know if I realized that last year either. So.
And I think that kind of adds to what Danny was talking about last episode, where he was like, "Oh, you got to read the fine print. Like, this doesn't work how I thought it did." So that was more like, I also rewatched the episode to get more of a feel for that. But yeah, very interesting. I mean, we'll see if the Blue Tribe ever finds their idol, of course.
Well, we know that they do. I don't understand it. There has to be, and obviously I'm referencing the fact that it showed Tori in the trailer for the season, like the opener for the season, the first episode, that she finds one of those idols. So either it has to be one giant like deep fake, like we've said already, that it's not actually her finding what we think she's finding, or that they just they slipped up, because like I said in our group chat, I knew she was not going home tonight, and it really just sucks the air out of those tribals.
Yeah.
And then when we'll talk about tribal after, but it just there has to be some other twist going on with Tori, with her finding it, for them to throw it out there. At least I hope so, for a viewer's perspective, because if not, we're going to be sitting here each episode waiting with like, Tori's not going home tonight. Tori's not going home tonight, unless they do some sort of switcheroo like they did last season. Where they show it after the fact that someone found it, and like she just ends up botching it, misplaying it. That was like the only thing that went through my mind tonight.
Yeah, but indeed, that's not what happened. Get voted off, and then whoever. Hey, I mean, I'm 50-50 on it, because one, I want to believe they wouldn't do that, but two, this is the same show that for like 20 something seasons had intro where it would show like challenges from episodes in the future in the opening credits, to where you'd be like, pretty sure that person's not getting voted off because they're in a challenge in the intro that has not aired yet. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil this specific season because I don't know if you've seen it or not, Dylan, but there is a season in the past where there was a rock draw that the show spoiled in promo and commercials leading up to that episode, that there was going to be a rock draw. So Yeah, that's not the first time. It wouldn't be the first time that Survivor has just like blatantly spoiled something so pivotal to the point where it just kind of like sucks some of the fun out of certain storytelling aspects. So
Yeah, and that same season also showed someone who came back into the game in a promo before the episode where they came back in. So a lot of
they did that.
issues
They've
with
done that multiple times.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Speaking of intros, though, like, are we ever going to get? And I don't know how far back this
No.
is. Are we ever going to get our old intro ever again? 'Cause
No.
I feel like we got. Didn't we get at least one episode last year? I think the first episode we got it.
I don't know. I just know that the guy who does it, who did it in the past, like the iconic intro, he's not employed by the show anymore. So Tim Duncan's brother, isn't that like crazy?
Does he have like the rights to the intro?
No, I like he's the one who would film. Just like his whole job was just to film shots for the intro, and like create the intro.
Because we still get some of it's not as nice as Tim Duncan brothers intros, but like we get some of those slow mo shots of like the water splashing and them looking very like disheveled. It bothers me, man. The intro is like iconic. I don't understand how you.
It really is.
I don't get that.
They also fired the guy who does like the original music for the show. Like, so like before they would have like each season would have the ancient voices with a twist based on the location, but then it was just cost cutting measures to keep the show on. Same reason we're in Fiji forever.
Do you think that they, not to just start completely derailing on the behind the scenes stuff, but do you think that now, because I know that they were set in Fiji for a while, do you think they just continue to stay in Fiji? Because I know they set up like the village and all that there to stay in. But I'm curious, and I think we may have talked about this before, whether on camera or off. But I'm curious if you think that they'll continue to stay in Fiji or shake it up.
I think unless like the only thing I could see is a maybe, and this is like unlikely considering they didn't do an American season during COVID. Like the only thing I could see is if they want to save like a little bit more money, they move it to someplace in the United States. Otherwise, I think Fiji has a like really good deal in place for Survivor to keep coming back.
Have they never done like Hawaii?
They've never done Hawaii.
I think was Samoa was filmed in Samoa proper and American Samoa, right? I don't think there's ever been a season that's filmed in the U.S.
Yeah,
or like in a U.S. territory or anything like that.
Taxes, am I right?
They could have had a season during COVID. They could have had Survivor Wild West, but it's not to be.
I mean,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I will say, props to them still for coming back last year, though, even though it was the debacle of the season, and like compared to some other shows, like actual television shows, like something like Barry or like Atlanta, which just came back from a 4-year stint. That was just weird.
Barry's coming back next month.
So in Barry, it's been 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was nice to Survivor to figure it out. I will say that. We're done.
It's an HBO show.
We're done praising Survivor. We're done praising Jeff and the production team. Back to shitting on him.
No, I love Barry. Barry's like a vastly underrated show.
Oh my god,
show. It's an HBO show.
This is where we announced that Ben and I are doing a Barry spin-off podcast. I would totally do it. I love Barry. It blew me away. I watched it, like I watched all of season 1 and season 2. Not to just derail this to Barry talk. In the night before and the day of, leading up to the season 2 finale. And so it was like a very chaotic, like 36 hours for me.
I've been a Barry fan since very early. I think I started watching it like right when it started coming out. Like I watched it from like episode 1. So I've been on that.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
Anyways, Survivor.
Yeah, watch Barry. I have to catch up on Atlanta. Watch Atlanta too. Atlanta's also phenomenal.
A very insane start to the season, but yes,
I've heard.
Yeah, back on to the people on the island. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So where are we here? So I guess we can go right into Jonathan just dominating, being everything Jeff ever wanted in a Survivor contestant.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a strength challenge either. It was like a teamwork challenge, and he was like, "Oh, teamwork! I can do that all myself."
That's what I don't understand the like. It wasn't necessarily shit Dre was talking, but like the frustrations that they had that Jonathan essentially carried their team. Like, yeah, he's an amazing player, and like the team works together, which is the exact opposite of what these other two teams are doing. Given he's essentially two athletes combined into one on a team, but still, like I don't get like the saltiness there, other than obviously the frustration of losing. But like, it's so impressive what they're doing, and I was about to say I give probably about like 80% of the credit to Jonathan, but like that team itself still works together very well, and it seems like maybe they're potentially throwing it away later on between this episode and the next episode. But I'm all aboard that. I think that Jonathan has maybe a 0% chance of winning this season, but I think that he's my go-to guy now to root for because I think he's playing a great game. He's a physical, just perfect specimen. He's just dominating everything, and he's humble. He unites his team. He recognizes that it's a team effort. I think that tough not to root for him here, in my opinion. But I also think 0% chance of winning because he's that dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the frustration, especially from the women in the game, being like, why did production put this one guy on this tribe and not like, we've seen in other seasons, I think fans versus favorites, right? You have James, who before Jonathan, probably like the standard in terms of physically strong men. And then they tried to put like someone who was similarly, strong with Joel. And I think, he was commensurate in terms of strength. But they did not do that at all in this season. And it probably feels a little unfair. And if I was like one of the guys on the tribe being like, am I supposed to be the analog, like the equivalent for my tribe to that dude? Mike. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's tough.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think it's fine, especially I think it wouldn't be fine if that tribe also didn't lose somebody on day one for like, a bullshit reason that was outside of their other 5 of their controls. So like they basically like started at a one person disadvantage like right off the bat. So I think it's a fair trade-off to be like, oh, you start with one less player, but you have one of the greatest physical athletes in the history of the show on your tribe.
I think it's all we you guys mentioned it last week too, that traditionally once we get to emerge, it becomes more finesse than strength. So and we've seen women excel in those challenges as well. So that's a good point. I actually didn't think about is that the women's side of like there's like no fucking way we can compete with this monstrosity of a human just tearing through this. Like the challenge after this is just unbelievable. The things he does, he's pulling people behind him, including one of the other swimmers. We'll get to it, but yes, I that is a good point. That it for the women particularly, it's frustrating. But also, I still thought that like Mike, a firefighter, I thought I would expect a little more out of him. Honestly, Roxroy.
He's also like 60 though. That's like the issue.
He's not 60. He's still, I mean, we're pushing 30. If he's only got to be maybe like 15 years older than us. I don't think that he's pushing 60. I was expecting a little more out of him physically. Same thing with Roxroy. I think Roxroy in that department, the fact that he sat out that challenge, very, very disappointing. And then the fact that he sat in the boat later on, very, very disappointing from a person that picked Roxroy. I think
58.
58?
Yeah.
It's not 60.
I mean, he looks great, obviously. He looks better than I fucking look at 29. So, like...
I was about to say, yes. But yes, so I guess in the dial back, I can see her frustrations because I think that a lot of the males on these two teams are very much underperforming, the males that you would expect the most from. Nobody's going to compete with Jonathan, so I guess that's no secret. But yeah, I can throw it out there now. I'm fully expecting to have to eat a ghost pepper sometime soon. So.
I mean, in fairness to Roxroy, I would also be like, look, Romeo, Zach, love them, but that's not fair to put like that, the two thinnest guys as the only other men on my tribe. That's kind of shitty.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else is there to say? They have technically lost, right? They've lost
Mhm.
before. It is possible for them to lose if there's like certain skill sets involved in the challenge that they like aren't going to be able to accomplish. But it seems like Omar and Marianne are very good at puzzles, as we see in the immunity challenge as well.
Mhm.
And the something as simple as just like simple layups into a basket is not a significant enough skill gap to like
Yeah.
change the weather. So yeah, they're gonna really need to involve some kind of much more heavy, hand-eye coordination skill, something like that, to really kind of narrow the gap here, I think.
I think we've seen too, though. I think we've seen that these ones that have gone from like endurance to strength to puzzle, we've seen it, almost all of them come down to the wire in the puzzle. Given this one, I think editing wise, much more of a blow than what we saw. But a merge is coming soon. I guess in the terms of like discussing Jonathan, it's I think his kryptonite is that he's too good. You know what I mean? It's that he's eventually going to be too much of a physical threat, and then he's just going to be gone. I like. I'm starting to get worried that maybe it's going to be pre-merge too, potentially, because they see that these other tribes just don't have it together.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think merge is probably in 2 weeks. I think there's probably one more pre-merge episode next week, and then the merge is the week after. So they really only have to win one more challenge for him to survive to the merge. So I think he's probably just locked in there. My biggest concern for him is obviously 100% of the merge. I think he's probably going to be the number one target the first tribal council he goes to that he's not immune.
Yeah.
Even if he has like a good social backing behind him. So
let's say that's really going to test his relationship with like Omar and Marianne. I'm not confident in that after this week.
As we can talk about the actual interesting part of between these two challenges, because of how much of a blowout they both were, was Jonathan at the end of the challenge pointing out after a conversation with Jeff that he considers that four to be extremely close and strong and tight knit, which is nice and sweet and all, but I definitely sympathized with the rest of his tribe not being super happy about that. And even in the moment, you could see on Marianne's face that she was very upset that he was saying this. Because this is like, I do know that the Dylan scene Kagayan, this is very top five baby-esque.
Yeah.
It's not a very good look to be, especially close to a foreseen merge, to be so open about like, oh, this is the four. We're such a core four. There's no cracks at all, right? That doesn't invite people to align with you in a post situation.
I mean, given there's no Tony this season to just start causing chaos. At least not so far.
There's no Cass either to be the additional agent of chaos.
I will, Brian. I'll let you go first. I think my thoughts on this a little more stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's tough, but it's also if like you make the merge, you just be like, oh yeah. I mean, obviously Jonathan thinks that we're close, but like, do you want to sit next to Jonathan at the end? No, I don't either. So I'm not like tied to the hip with him. He's a great shield, and he just has no shot at sniffing the end. I mean, I think it's going to be tough for him to, like you said, Ben, get past his first tribal council without immunity, let alone, get all the way down to the end.
Yeah. Excuse me, I got a cherry in my mouth. I mean, if he does win, it's good. I think we're looking at maybe one of the greatest seasons ever. If he somehow pulls that off, that would
he would essentially
9 immunities in a row.
Yeah, immunity out.
Yeah,
that or he pulls like a Tony level deception out of nowhere for his character to just start playing everyone against each other, which I don't think happens. So stay tuned. But I don't know what else you want him to say here. Do you want him to say that he's the most physically dominant person that ever played this game and he's just a rock star? Do you want him to
Yeah.
say that no, this tribe hates each other? Do you want him to say that I get along with Omar, but I don't really like Marianne and the other girl whose name I always forget,
Lindsay.
Lindsay?
That's okay. I forgot her name last week.
Like I don't know what else you want him to say here. So I think that to get conspiracy meta, I think this was just like a product of trying to create some sort of divide with the tribe. But the preview next week made me a little bit nervous to lead some credence to what went on here. So with that knowledge, I'm going to say I think that's stupid for you to be mad about that, because I think without him that this tribe would be in a much different place than they are now, clearly. So I don't know. I don't know what they want from him in that situation. Like, other than say like, yeah, I'm the best player. This team sucks. Like, sorry. So I think that shows that I think hopefully he has a likable social game going forward with the people that he'll merge with. But even then, he's too dangerous. I don't know what they want from him. I guess that's my argument. I don't know what they want from him.
I think that it's just that he could have hedged that a little bit, right? Like he very much went all in on like we're like a four, we're like a family, we're very tight, we're very strong. Like he just say, yeah, I feel like I've done a good job of leading us through these challenges, and we work well as a team. Like something just as simple as that, right? That's something that everybody can outwardly see, and it doesn't really speak towards any kind of deeper social or strategic bonds, which is what I think uh, comes across based off of the way that he worded some of his answers and some of his statements there, where like you can be a successful tribe in challenges, like you can just show up every time in challenges and still be like a dysfunctional tribe socially and strategically. So like leaving that kind of idea open in people's minds that like, oh yeah, they're like dominating in challenges because of Jonathan. But there's still cracks here. Like this isn't like a solid group. It's just like they're winning because of one guy. Like I think that's a much safer, uh, you know, aura to give off to the other tribes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. I guess we can move on to the tribe that isn't going to end up going to tribal council that we haven't really touched upon yet, which is this one is Taku, right?
Dog is the orange tribe.
Yeah.
Which is what we were
Because
just talking about.
yes.
Yeah.
And as Dylan said, Omar and Marianne not super happy about this, and that it seems like this is going to bond them together potentially against Jonathan in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to say. Like, I mean, it was great for the trailer for this episode to have them talking about that, but Omar was very quick to be like, but I still love Jonathan
Yeah.
and appreciate everything he's doing for me.
Yeah. All right.
I've
guess
said my
we
piece.
just
I've said my
yeah
piece.
we go quickly, I guess, into the immunity challenge, right? There's nothing really else here. So
Do we get any screen time with the eventual tribal tribe?
oh yeah, we do I think the initial Swati Tory conversation, does that happen before tribal?
I
Or does that happen
think
after
I
tribal?
think I think that's when this happens.
Okay.
Now, not to like. I guess it really doesn't matter because
Yeah, I mean the storyline all kinds of like flows pretty naturally regardless. But yeah, I guess Swati's gonna end up being the boot this episode. Where do you guys think she like lost the game, right? That's kind of where I would say, because like this conversation feels like it's being set up as like the first domino in a line of how she lost the game. But I think it's probably a little bit of an oversimplification. So I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on that conversation with Tori.
I think she lost that trust in Tori. Because I do think that in the end, Tori's blunder is what got her axed. Tori for no reason mentioning to Roxroy about Drea's advantage and extra vote. So I think it was kind of, in the end it was a domino effect of, as we saw later on, her telling everybody that they're her number one. I mean, I think that she just didn't think that out, and I'm not upset. I'm not upset with the results. Because I do think that now that we see that, I think that she did end up playing like too chaotic of a game, trusting too many people in the end, where she tried to make it seem like she was taking, she was taking control of her own destiny, where in fact she was just planting seeds with everybody else there, and just not watering the seeds. You know what I mean? So, I think the end of her in the end was wanting to go with Tori, and then Tori just being having a huge mouth and just telling Roxroy way too much. Once again, nobody who even has a whiff of an advantage or an immunity idol or anything on this season can keep their mouth shut. And I think it's crazy. I'm so curious, and it goes into the whole thing with Tori finding the immunity idol too, is that I'm so curious of what the twist will be there, because it's not just gonna be casual. She finds it and that's it, and then she announces it. Something else is gonna have to give, especially with the way the game she's played. But my answer is that I think her trusting Tori, who essentially has been fighting uphill since day one, I think was too much. And even though, like, I think also the rest of her tribe is just not in that great of a place. I think if anybody needed a merge, I think it was probably Swathi, and just she wasn't going to be able to get there. So that in my eyes, that's what happened.
Yeah, I think shades of Aubrey, an Edge of Extinction. When you say the same thing to a lot of people and then they compare notes, it looks so bad.
Yep.
And it's like, and especially like, you're my number one. Like, she didn't have to say that. She could have just been like, I really trust you. Like, I want to work with you. Like, you got me.
I have your back.
Yeah, I have your back. I hope you have my, like, she didn't have to be like, you're my number one, because that's a very, like, specific thing. She said it to 3 people out of 4 potential people to say it to, so not a good look. And then it was just easy for Tori to then take that and spin the narrative of her, causing all the dissent within the tribe.
Yeah, I mean, we see. I don't even think Tori did that much, to be frank. I think Tori kind of got lucky.
Yeah, it's true.
She went like
Swathi kind of played herself out of the game. Yeah. No, it's very. I would call it very like naive gameplay. Like, it's very kind of like level 1 thought of like, oh, how do I gain friends and allies on Survivor? Oh, I go up to them. We have a one-on-one conversation. I tell them that I trust them and that they're my number one. Yeah, that's very like easy to understand, just like, level 1 gameplay. And then you're like, okay, so how do I gain a bunch of allies? Oh, I just do that over and over again. It's like, okay, well, that's, you're kind of cashing, you're writing a lot of checks that you really can't cash here, and you're not really doing it in a methodical way, from what I can tell. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we all, in the end, in the end, it was her own fault. I'm not saying that in the end because she trusts Tori. Tori's the one that brought her down. I just think that it was her own fault in the end that she made that mistake. But like you said, it's young. She's 20 years old. I think it's just not smart gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast before. It's very tough to be like at a very different age from everyone, whether that's older or younger. And 20 is young. I know, like, some of the people watching this, because I know when I was younger and would listen to podcasts and be like, 20 isn't that young. It's like, no, it is. And people will perceive you differently if you're 20 years old.
Think about how, like, fucking just stupid you were when you were 20.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
props to how stupid I didn't realize yesterday, let alone when I was 20.
I was about to say, I didn't even realize Swathi was 20. So props to her, but that's still very, very, very young. So understandable.
Yeah, no, I think that the only other, I think Marianne is the other person on the season still left who's quite young as well. I think she's also in the 20 range. I don't know exactly if she's 20, but I think she's in that vicinity. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason that a 20-year-old has never won Survivor, right? 21 is the lowest we've ever hit.
Yeah. And that was a once in a lifetime series event.
Two 21-year-olds have won Survivor.
Twice in a lifetime.
Yes. Um, but yeah, it's hard. I think that we talk about like the sweet spot on Survivor of like
Mm,
late 20s, early 30s is
mm,
generally where you're like the most likely to do well. I would say personally, like 23, 24 is kind of the cutoff for me as
mm,
far as like just enough life experience to be able to get by in like most circumstances. There's definitely been like outliers or like examples of people like I would say is it Michael in Ghost Island?
mm,
I think is a good example of he was 18 at the time. He lied about his age, but he was also somebody who came off as like older than 18. Like he came off as probably
mm.
somebody who was 23, 24.
Yeah.
So he was able to get away with it. But yeah, it's hard when you're, and we see at the tribal council as well that that Roxroy kind of treats her like a child a little
Yeah.
bit, and she sees that as a positive, which I disagree. I think that's not something that you should see as a positive, even
Mm,
if he's complimenting you. And she talked about how she wasn't, necessarily comfortable in like that kind of a, high intensity social situation.
mm,
So yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. I think from a strategic perspective, though, the issue with her plan and her strategy with trying to talk to Tori is less so, in my opinion, trusting Tori and
mm,
more so expecting Tori to be the one to be effective at executing the strategy,
mm,
right? Because she's basically like, okay, I want to take out Drea. I want the three to be me, Tori, and Roxroy. And Tori's like, okay, I don't really like Roxroy. And so at that point, you should be like, okay, I'll talk to Roxroy about this then, right?
yeah.
I'll handle this conversation. I'll be like the bridge in this alliance between you and Roxroy. Instead, she doesn't do anything, and she lets Tori be the one to go and approach Roxroy about this first, right? And get,
Mm,
ahead of her on this. Yeah, as Dylan said, Tori handled it really poorly. So, like, yeah, like, obviously, like, we could look at who's playing worse in this episode between Tori and Swati, but, like, Swati allowed her game to be in Tori's hands in a way that didn't need to happen, even if
mm,
she wanted to execute this strategy.
yeah. I want to give a shout out to Drea. I feel like a lot of players are like, oh, it's really hard for me to choose between these two people because I like them. But in
Hmm.
this episode, she was like, I kind of wish I could vote both of them off, which I just loved so
Yeah.
much that she was just like, I don't like either of these people very much. So the decision to vote one of them off isn't hard because I want to keep it. It's because I wish I could get rid of both of them.
Hmm.
So she might be my favorite player at the moment, just because that is such a funny thing to say in Survivor. And we need villains, man. I'm always for whoever is a villain, and she seems very ready to embrace that role.
I think that everyone on that tribe, other than Romeo, it seems like they could potentially be embracing the villain role. Because
Mm.
I also think that you can see Roxroy becoming almost like the annoying player, like the annoying tribe is made.
Unfortunately, he is getting pitched, which I didn't expect because they promoted the season with him. I
Hmm.
thought he was gonna be a beloved like older guy character, not a everyone is just very annoyed with Roxroy at all times.
Yeah, I
What?
mean, you don't want to be compared to like a toxic narcissistic boyfriend. That's usually not a good look.
No, it's not good.
I wonder, and I've never been sold on it, but I wonder why they never went to Romeo because I've never been sold on the fact that he's that that connected with Roxroy and Drea. I mean, I think we see some allegiance from him here with Drea, whenever the bomb is dropped that it's revealed that her advantage, but. I was never sold up until that her and that him and Drea were that lock solid. So I wonder why not going to him, especially if Tori did not like Roxroy. Like I wonder why that was never an option because I feel like that was not something that we would know as viewers.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm confused at that as well. It did kind of seem like it came out of nowhere a little bit in terms of like the narrative. Maybe it's just that it really isn't super easy to convey. 'Cause I don't think that Roxroy sees it this way. And like obviously, Roxroy seemingly blindsided during the tribal council and left out of the vote, unless that was some planned split or something, but it didn't seem like it. And so it feels like Roxroy, especially with his reaction to how Tori approached him, sees himself as some kind of duo with at least one of Romeo or Drea, I would presume. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense for him to stick with them unless he just sees them as a better pair to work with than Tori and Swati, which I would disagree with 100%. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really flow necessarily from my perspective, but oh, we'll see. I guess we'll see, especially if they go to tribal council again next week, which I think they will.
We also did get a mention of rain. And we want to say before we discuss the actual challenge is that we did get a mention of rain. I want to see those nights when they're dealing with that rain. Like even if it's just for 60 seconds, like I want to see that. That's the tribe life I do want to see and how they're dealing with that. Even if it's just like, poor Steven who was like nearly medevaced because the guy was just too cold from the rain. Like I want to see things like that because there's still tribe life and part of like living on a fucking tropical island that you're going to deal with. Like, props to them for, like we said, everything they brought back some tribe life compared to last season, which is great. But I still want to see more. And like I guess necessarily I don't know where they could have cut it from this episode. Maybe from the stupid everything going on with Marianne and Omar like disagreeing with Jonathan saying that. But that also meta leads me to believe that maybe that leads to something larger issue with that squad. But I still wish we could see those things, especially if you're cutting out the intro. Like, give me that 30 seconds to see them getting rained on.
Yeah, I do have to say we're erasing Steven's hashtag gastrointestinal distress, which is something I think about too often. The fact that he said hashtag that and that he did not hashtag it, which is unbelievable.
Rude.
I did. I'll go hashtag it right now and just hashtag that.
It should be, yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, how to phrase this? I don't love seeing people suffer, but I love seeing people, fight against the elements of Survivor because it is a big part of the show. It's not just the game, but it's also the survival elements of Survivor. Which,
especially in these uber intense 2 seasons of limited food and all that, like it should have a much larger effect than what's being shown. Because we had it last season too, where there's this mention of like this unbelievable rainstorm, and not seeing an inch of it. I just don't understand why. Like every other season before that, we see it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it is odd. It's definitely a weird kind of like cognizant dissonance or whatever. Cognitive dissonance in terms of like the production's decisions here of like, oh, we're going to make sure that everyone knows that we're like starving and torturing these people this season, but we're not going to actually like make content out of that and like put it in the episode. So like we're just kind of just doing it for no reason.
And then to have Jeff mention it, I guess that's the other thing. I was like, if we would never know and there'd be no point, but he mentions it for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather is like a character in itself on some seasons, like we talked about Samoa earlier. Samoa, like a lot of the storytelling of that season is just how shitty the weather is and how like it's wearing all these players down. So I guess, maybe it's not wearing them down as much.
The first like 2 episodes of Gen XYZ, that whole season was about the rain.
You got evacuated,
pouring down on them.
Yeah.
It literally occupied like an entire episode.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing it. It is a weird choice to not include it, but to tell us about it. It's one thing to not include it. It's another thing to not show it and then also tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean it's like TV 101 is show not tell, right? It's like
Yeah, this is the tell not show, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe that is kind of Survivor. They do that, but yeah, I mean. What else is there to say about this episode? Jonathan, absolute beast. Marianne should have just gotten in that boat and enjoyed the ride.
You should have.
I feel like she was in danger of drowning, getting run over by the boat, at a certain point, because Jonathan didn't need anyone's help. And it was clearly a very taxing thing because, like, I think it was Mike and High, right? They were the two who did it for the Green Tribe, and they literally were like hugging each other, like, I can't believe we did that. That was so fucking hard. And Jonathan just casually did it himself.
We haven't mentioned her yet, but shout out Lydia Chlamydia. Missing those 2 in a row. She's still queen stays queen. She's still on the show. Missed that the High School Musical jumping pose with her in it that I sent you guys. Hilarious.
So good.
I'm rooting hard for Lydia Chlamydia to win the whole season. I know she's probably not going to, but shout out to her because we haven't mentioned her yet.
She's great representation for those of us who would also probably suck at Survivor challenges. Like every time she missed that, I was like, "That'd be me." Because I know that'd be me.
I've always said whenever they do that challenge that I almost I feel like 99% I'm probably gonna fuck up and miss that. And like I'm not like by no means like that short or anything, but like I can't jump. I know I'm gonna miss that. So it was nice to finally see someone do that. Then 2 in a row, and she still won. Killed it on the puzzle. So
yeah, I don't think I would be able to recover on the puzzle. That's the bigger problem here. Like I would be bad at the physical and then also very bad at the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the meme that is Lydia at this point. But yeah, this is literally a recovery episode for her almost getting voted out. I don't think she said a single word the entire episode.
No.
How many confessionals has she had?
She's had like 3 confessionals in 4 episodes. It's ridiculous.
My brother is so frustrated that I'm such a big fan of her and he can't understand. And I sometimes forget that I'm so involved in like her Twitter personality that I forget that like we've seen her say maybe a total of like 10 words on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a legend, though. I would love to get her on the show at some point. That'd be the dream. We won't give you confessionals, Lydia. We'll let you talk as much as you'd like.
Yeah, I mean...
The person that sent the High School Musical picture, her response was sobbing and shitting. She's just... She's my good type of humor. I love her. She's I've never been more invested in a contestant that I know probably has 0% chance of winning than her. And if she wins, holy shit.
Hey, Erica didn't say much before the merge.
True.
I mean,
and we know someone's gonna smash an hourglass.
My God, I forgot about that.
If it's Lydia, oh my God, the content.
I mean, smashing an hourglass 1 for 1 in producing Survivor winners so far. Yeah. So, look, I just can't. I can't keep, like, okay. You know, we obviously complained a lot about Erica's winner edit last season. But at least, like, we got through the pre-merge with, like, some concept of Erica's strategic positioning, right? Like, everything we know about Erica, or about Lydia, is filtered through High. It's basically like High and High's +1 that we're supposed to pretend is a separate person somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. If it is Lydia, I would like someone to have like the Doctor Strange with the Eye of Agamotto, but with the hourglass. Or please.
Tough visual for an audio medium such as what we're doing right now, but I just sent another one in the chat of her floating through space while she's jumping, and it's this content that I'm here for. I think her winning Survivor this season is essentially one of us winning Survivor.
It's what we deserve, quite frankly.
We need this as a community.
Oh man.
Look, I mean, yeah. Kudos to her if she does. There were points in the last season where I did write off Erica, right? I was way more confident writing off Heather than I was writing off Erica throughout the majority of last season. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm kind of on the Heather trajectory with Lydia. So we'll see. Like if there's an Erica this season that they're under editing, I would say it's probably somebody like a Lindsay, more likely. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we all know the second we see Lydia's home life, it's over.
A little shout out to Wicked Good Show, which Brian and I are bringing back. Morbius with a whole 16% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. That is very bad.
Better chance of Lydia winning Survivor or Morbius getting $100 million at the box office.
I don't know. I've seen people go see dumb shit.
Yeah, you put the Marvel tag on anything, and we'll get eyes.
They are like very like flagrantly trying to trick people into thinking Spider-Man will be in this movie. Like it's bad.
They're like, oh yeah. I mean, you saw Venom. This is Venom, kind of, right? This is like
Right,
Venom. Yeah,
It's
come
like
on.
it's Tom Hardy's a very likable actor, and Jared Leto is a few years away from having his cult exposed. We're all gonna have to deal with that, but until then, you love him, right? He is a good actor. He just is gonna have a big moment. I feel in a few years.
Yeah. No.
I'm calling the shot right now.
I mean, look, I don't want to be on a list, so yeah, I'll let you take that pull up, Ryan.
True. Yeah.
No comment.
Oh man. So Morbius, are we all gonna see?
So that's the end of the podcast. Now we
I haven't seen recent good Marvel movies, so
Yeah. If anything, just watch No Way Home.
yeah, No Way
quite
Home. Yeah.
good.
No Way Home was an event that I really enjoyed. I don't know if it's necessarily a good movie, but it is a great event that I've watched 3 times now. My kids love Spider-Man. I mean, I love it too. It's so great to see Toby and Andrew back. Ben, you got me thinking. The last great Marvel movie I saw. All right.
Last Marvel movie I saw.
I mean, Endgame probably.
Yeah, Endgame was great.
Well,
It was really-
Far From Home was really good.
Yeah.
Oh shucks.
Mhm.
I got the 4K disc copy of Taxi Driver in. I've never seen Taxi Driver, so I will be watching that at some point soon. But I'm big on my 4K DVD binge, and Taxi Driver I had to buy like a $90 like Columbia gift package just because it's the only way you can get the 4K. Yeah, and I saw Deer Hunter for the first time. Super fucking depressing. Vietnam. Breaking news: Vietnam not good. Not good for the United
Hot
States.
take.
I don't think anybody had a good time in Vietnam.
Certainly not.
No. But I digress. Yes. So I that's it. Jonathan destroyed that challenge. And I think editing made it appear much closer than it was. But shout out to our girl Lydia Comedia pulling up the clutch. Almost dropped it. She didn't.
I do think second place was close.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
That type of puzzle I have heard from people who have done like similar ones in like LRGs is very tough to do.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I would never volunteer for something like that, but like the fact that it can fall apart is very frustrating.
Yeah, I would say from my experience doing puzzles like that, the keeping it from falling apart is more difficult than actually solving the puzzle, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you're gonna like put the fins in on this one. Oh my god!
For some reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, props to Jonathan and that tribe, because even without the lead, they still beasted that puzzle, and that's not Jonathan. That was Marianne and Omar. So shout out to them, because I think that's far and away the best tribe. Even Jonathan's plays a big part, but I think that's the most cohesive tribe, and it's because I think the other tribes are kind of are a mess.
And it definitely like there's got to be a lot of like less pressure when you have like a 25-minute lead to do the puzzle. You're like, all right,
that's very true.
Like, let me feel this one out. Let me see what we're working with. Okay, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to say about the challenges that we've seen recently, just because like there hasn't been a real interesting.
No, there hasn't. But yeah, Swathi, yeah, it sucks.
We hardly knew
you.
ye.
Nice. You hardly knew ye. I'm very interested to see where this tribe goes from here. Probably back to tribal council, like Ben said, but we'll see.
I was going to say nobody needs a merge more than this tribe, because I think this tribe is just a mess at this point. But even it's so this is back to like what we were saying earlier. We know Tori finds this idol, which she didn't find in this. I thought for sure when he asked if anybody has an idol they want to play. I thought that's when we were going to see it because
We
I
have,
thought
like,
it would.
the Ways
But she
play.
couldn't. It wouldn't be activated yet, though. She's
True.
got to say the
Yeah.
say the
Very
phrase.
true.
Yeah.
And Mike can just cock block it if he wants and just not say it. It's
Mhm.
very interesting. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, next week's probably the week where she's gonna
Yeah.
find it if she does.
We thought it would be this week.
Yeah,
We thought it'd be the second day.
Sure. Yeah, we
thought
thought,
every week we've said this.
well, because it makes less and less that they spoiled it.
Yeah.
It makes less and less that they spoiled it. Every subsequent week is like, okay, well, now we're going into episode 5, and there's something that was shown that was like a blatant spoiler that we still haven't seen yet, and presumably, as I said, the merge is in 2 weeks, and I assume that she finds it pre-merge. That's the only thing that makes sense. So, at this point, it has to be next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
So.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, look, if she finds it next week and it gets activated, and they go to tribal council again, not looking too good for you, Dylan.
No, I can't find a natural ghost pepper. I haven't tried Walmart yet, and somebody told me that they sell them at Walmart. So it may be a process where I have to start growing the ghost pepper with a seed because I can only buy the seeds on Amazon, and I'm not going to buy a dried out ghost pepper. Like we need an all natural one to really get the uncomfortability in it.
Mm-hmm. You
And
could
so-
get like ghost pepper salsa, which is like tasty, but also sometimes like really really tough.
I got to commit to the act if Rockwood doesn't win this season.
I'm trying to give you an out, but
I am taking a full ghost pepper bite at the very beginning of the podcast, and we are going through the podcast. It's content. It's what's going to put us over the top, Brian. We have to do it.
well,
and
we have
I'm just glad I didn't believe in Zach this much. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, look, I'll do it. I'll do it too. I'll commit. If I think Chanel is still, well, like, even though she looked like a moron last week, I still think that she's probably like one of the 3 to 5 most likely winners at this point.
I think she was able to redeem herself through 2 channels. Of one, she addressed it right away. Even though I still think the way she played it last week was semi smart in the sense that if things went south, she didn't show her hand, which was good. And then this week, clearly everybody fucking hates Daniel. So I agree. I don't think that now, seeing how it played out, that she's all of a sudden knocked down, because I still really like her a lot. So I agree.
Yeah, it definitely helps that Daniel had a complete and utter meltdown and pretty much did everything in the worst possible way.
And then they mentioned again his dislocated shoulder next week, so I wonder if he starts complaining about it again or something like that.
Yeah, that was weird to bring up. Seemingly this, well, I guess in their time it's probably like day 9 or whatever, but like to us it seems so long ago because it was like a month ago.
True.
In real time.
But if I can't find one by the end of the weekend, I'm going to order the seed and start growing it, and then as soon as it's grown, I'm going to eat it that next podcast. So,
okay.
All right.
All right, yeah, we can do that. We could even do a one-off where you talk about your favorite season while eating it.
and then we'll have like a meter like they do at sports games, of like the crowd when they start clapping and getting loud, like the intensity of like when I think I need to call the ambulance, I'll start like jotting it up. The higher
Be
it
able
gets,
to see it on your face.
Yeah.
It's getting red.
So
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I'm down. I have to eat a Carolina Reaper for my fantasy football league, so.
I don't think I can do it. I have health issues.
Oh yeah, of course.
Fucking,
Yeah, it's very different.
I'm not gonna, like, a few years ago before, yeah, 100%. I love spicy stuff. I don't think it's a good idea.
Oh no, 100%. You definitely should not.
yeah.
my fantasy football punishment this year for me is I have to caddy an entire round for one of my friends in like a full caddy smock.
That's not that bad.
That's a fun one. That's
Yeah.
good. I like that.
It's humiliating.
It's humiliating, but it's not physical pain like Ben.
And I now have to call up the golf course and be like, "Hey, I swear to God, I'm not playing. I'm just caddying for this one guy. I promise. Please don't make me
They're
pay
not gonna believe you. They're
$70
like, you're gonna pay
for
us.
this full
Yeah.
round."
Yep. Yeah, I'll find a cheap one to go to. Luckily, the one league I did horribly and we don't have a punishment. And then I won the other league, and I just need to get a Cooper Cup jersey to commemorate it, or a St. Brown jersey from the Lions because I picked him up the morning of the Super Bowl and he scored like 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, in the league that me and Brian are in together, this was my second consecutive season of choking in the Super Bowl. So
In that league I did it 2 times before I won the next time. So this year's your year coming up.
we'll see. Anyways, I guess the only thing I have left to say about the episode is, so do we think that Swati has not seen Survivor Marquesas, or does she not know how to count?
Can make two of those.
Basic first grade numbers.
Yeah. So all right, Dylan. Obviously, like I'm gonna have to spoil Marquesas a little bit here, so you can decide. I mean, it came out in 2002, so like it's been a while. It's been 20 years.
Great
Jesus
season.
Christ.
Top
Really
5
great
season, in my
season.
opinion.
Really, yeah. Boston Rob wasn't even the 4th person voted off on his tribe, like let alone the 4th person voted off of the season.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, he makes them merge.
Yeah, he made the merge. I don't think he's coming back on Survivor All-Stars if he didn't at least make the merge.
Yeah.
So, like, you gotta put some respect on my young Boston Rob boy, like his name, because this is before Boston Rob too. He had a Patriots hat on. Like, this is a whole different ball game.
Is this the season him and Amber meet?
No, this is before.
Before, wow.
Yeah.
I forget how many. It's like when I step back and look how many seasons he's been on. It's wild.
He's been on.
He's been on
6.
the most. He's been on 6 seasons.
Yep.
Played in 5. Yeah. I mean, he's an institution for Survivor. It's probably over at this point, just because he is older now, and you know he has a family and stuff. But like, I don't know what she was talking about there. I was like trying to rack my brain. I was like, is there any time where he got voted off for? And the only thing I can think of is like, you know, he came back the 4th time and did quite well. Maybe that's where she got the 4th in her head. I don't know.
Yeah, this just sounds like cope to me. It's just like, it's just like, you know, oh, I screwed up on Survivor, so I'm gonna try to reach for, you know, look, I'm not the biggest Tori fan here. Like, you know, we talk a lot about the issues with Tori, and she's definitely probably going to be Dark Angelina, as I've predicted this season.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that what she said as far as like, you know, Swati living in a different reality, I can get behind that as far as like her just making up this statistic about Survivor that's just not close to true, just to make herself feel better about losing. It's just weird.
It is. Who even was the 4th person voted off that season? Hunter?
Yes, it was Hunter, which was a blindside orchestrated by Boston Rob. So that's even more disrespectful.
So disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was Peter Harkey mom. Oh no, Peter Harkey's Sarah mom, and then Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can see Hunter shilling military grade products in between Fox News segments if you're curious. I know because I have family who watches Fox News very much, and I'm always like, that guy was on Survivor, and they're like, we do not care.
Mm-hmm.
Do not talk about Survivor, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So very much disrespectful. You know, regardless of your feelings on Boston Rob, disrespectful to lie about him doing worse on Survivor than he did to make yourself feel better and underplay, you know, one of the more iconic blindsides of the early seasons of Survivor.
Yeah, honestly, a shift in Survivor to that
Yep.
point.
Yeah, definitely like a big meta shift in terms of like how people thought about Survivor strategy, that tribal
Yeah.
council. So,
Yeah. So,
yep.
anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
That's all I got. I mean, I'm impressed with how much we were able to put out for essentially a really kind of a very mellow episode. So props
We
to
went a lot
us.
of tangents.
Yeah, it's all about the tangents in
Yeah.
here, which is fun. I think at this point, it's like if you like us, like you like the tangents. If you don't like us, there are 8 million other Survivor podcasts to listen to, and we will not take it
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. I will say I am feeling a lot happier about my Chanel pick now that I feel like relatively confident that I'm going to end up with at least the first pick of Survivor 43, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
So yeah, I mean, you guys want to shout out, I guess, social media? We wrap this up.
Yeah, I'll go first. So follow DJ Clubberlang on Twitter. That's 2 B's in that Clubberlang. I just retweet Lydia Chlamydia, and now I apparently will be laughing about Morbius. So follow that. We're bringing Wicked Good Show back to more of a kind of just basically what we've done in this podcast of just generically just talking about everything. Will Smith should not have slapped Chris Rock. Will Smith is
Only the tangents.
Will Smith is a Scientologist weirdo who like seemingly has lost my 30 years of fandom thinking he was an amazing person. So fuck Will Smith. Yeah, follow the shows that we're about to discuss, and thank you for the support. My wife doesn't follow it. I feel like now I'm in an Oscar speech, so I'm just going to stop before I get slapped. Yes, love Survivor, love the season. I'm still all aboard.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the fake BMR. It's BMARR. Hilarious that he assaulted Chris Rock and then won an Oscar. Like that's
Disgusting.
just the world is so insane. Like the computer the simulation is on is breaking down. We're running out of RAM. Things are getting real weird here.
Yep. Jim Carrey said it. There are a bunch of fucking spineless weirdos, and I think that showed. As someone that like loved the Oscars, I literally did a fucking pool every year for the Oscars. Like that was sad.
No, you're definitely like the biggest Oscar fan I know. So like, yeah. Also, the one very funny thing is every time a celebrity says something about it, Twitter will just pull up the most heinous thing the celebrity has ever done. It's like, damn, maybe everyone should stop talking because no one's getting out alive.
Yeah, I mean, Stone's last houses all die, right? I mean, look, I'm a person who doesn't follow the Oscars hardly at all. Didn't know the Oscars were even on that night until my Twitter feed blew up with the slap, and I was hit and pretty much every social because I'm the kind of sicko who is on social media 24/7.
Right.
Like I sleep like 3 hours a night, mostly because of insomnia, but also because of crippling social media addiction. I saw it happen immediately. Watched like 4 different videos of it in like 7 different languages, and looked at all the memes and was already burnt out of the story within like a half an hour.
Right.
So
the last 3 days have been tough for you.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like everything that needs to be said about it is just.
Agreed. Every single YouTuber and every single show I've watched have done, regardless of what the topics they normally cover are, they've done something about the slap. So I can see why you're burnt out on it. But the memes are still decent.
Yeah, no, like I'll just say I don't really care. I don't care about celebrities.
Yeah, no, that's healthy.
Like, was it ridiculous? Yeah, obviously. Are the writers of the universe on crack? Yeah, 100%. But it's what are we doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's way more productive things we could be talking about for 3 days than this. I'll say that.
That's an easy way to get slapped, Ben. Better watch it.
Yeah. It's like this. It's just such a stupid thing. It's taking up way too much bandwidth in people's minds and mouths.
Buddy,
don't
you're
know.
you're telling me it's consumed my life for the past 3 days.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's why I looked at the memes. I watched the videos. I was into it for a half an hour, right? Obviously it was dumb and horrible for Will Smith to do that. But the fact that it's even still being talked about now is wild to me because it feels like it just doesn't matter.
It's kept me up that night. So I 100% understand what you're saying because I'm one of the
Yeah.
people that were affected by it. I woke up the next morning like I can't believe fucking Will Smith did that. Like Will Smith smacked me. I was like I can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
I agree.
Good for Chris Rock's ticket sales. I'll just say that.
Yeah, this is the best thing to happen to Chris Rock in years. Are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about?
You gotta take it sometimes, and
Yeah.
it sucks. And I mean, he should not have been slapped. That's fucked up that happened. But I think he can maneuver this to his advantage.
Yeah, no, he comes out of this looking.
Oh yeah. Especially because he had a moment where he's like, "Oh, I can say some stuff right now, but I am not going to."
Yeah.
I think people respected that.
Yeah,
They were
no.
like, "Okay."
Yeah, no, 100%. I just think it's crazy the things that the zeitgeist cares about for so long, and this has definitely been one of those things that's kind of like, yeah, it was crazy, but it's definitely overstated.
I will say, not to drag out the end of the pod, it is one of the craziest things I've ever seen happen on live TV. Like you think
I mean,
nothing.
I don't know. I saw fucking Justin Timberlake rip Janet Jackson's clothes off in front of everybody in the Super Bowl, and everyone was like, "Wow, this is fine. We're just casually okay with borderline sexual assault on your live TV. All right."
It was a wardrobe malfunction. So we have,
All right.
we have, so think. So, and I'm only doing this now because Brian and I are going to have a pod on it to do it. Clearly, 9/11, seeing the second tower hit. That's got to be the
Okay, yeah.
crazy.
that's up there
9/11
as well.
Craziest thing that's ever been on
Challenger
TV.
blowing up. I think on like a national
Is that
scale.
live?
I think so. Yes, Challenger blowing up. I believe it was because you had all the school kids for the woman from New Hampshire.
Yeah. Mhm.
Watching it. I think that was that whole thing.
Yeah, my mom was a teacher at the time. She said that they did show it live, and it was very not great.
And then I think you get into the tiers of in terms of like you said, the zeitgeist. I think you have the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake Super Bowl, and then I think this is up there. Because crazy shit has happened. I think something like this. You had Will Smith smack Chris Rock on a national scale, and then just shouting in the crowd in front of all these people, and then they applaud and give the man a Best Actor award after. That is the craziest fucking thing I have ever seen live, other than the things we just named. I didn't see the second tower get hit.
Right.
Thank God I didn't see that. Not live.
Right.
And obviously the Challenger, I was not yet born. This was I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing. Because at first I thought it was a typical he's just walking up you type thing, and then the guy just hit him, and then I thought he was selling it, and then when I saw the cut video from Australia and England, I think that's when it really set in that I just saw Will Smith, who was maybe one of the biggest movie stars from our entire childhood and life, do this to Chris Rock, who is one of the most renowned comedians. That is nuts, because it's very clearly not fake. But like you said, he's in Boston between now and Friday doing 2 shows a day, all sold out. Any resale tickets are $400, $500. So don't feel bad for Chris Rock. But in the end, we are always going to have that meme and all that of Chris Rock getting slapped. I think it's super fucked up. And it's just
really fucked up. Yeah.
I think you see somebody who's clearly going through a lot of shit with Will Smith and that very toxic marriage of his, and then you have somebody like Chris Rock, who you would never ever think would be thrown into something like this, because he's a comedian, and I'm not saying that any comedian should be just have a free pass for whatever they say. I think that's what culminates the crazy thing. Is I agree with you, Ben. I think that the fact that it's still talked about and the overdone jokes and all that, but that's the scale of it, is that we're gonna see that slap for years and years and years now, done in memes. And that I think that's just it's just the weird day and age we live in, of everything just being out there now that I think that just caused twice as like the damage for that. And I think that's why it's a big deal, and that's why I'm like, fuck Will Smith, because I think that sucks. Like that just sucks to have that video out there if you're getting fucking smacked by this Scientologist asshole. Like it just like that sucks. And I think that's why I generally just feel bad for Chris Rock.
Yeah, I also feel bad for it. One, Will Smith would go on to win an Oscar that night, but two, like nobody did anything. Like Will Smith went out there, slapped him, and then it was just like, all right, well, I guess just deal with that, Chris. I don't know what to say.
If anybody's still listening to this, great.
This is a preview for a Wicked Good Show.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just can't. I don't know, man. I just can't bring myself. It feels shitty to say. I just can't bring myself to care.
I totally understand that because I think less of myself for caring as much as I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I totally understand. I totally get that. I like respect that perspective because I wish I had that.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway is just like every time I think about it, it's like that's fucking crazy that happened. I don't know if I have like definitely my opinion is it's fucked up and it should not have happened. But like every time I think about it, I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
I think it's
a weird world.
I think it's the scale too of Will Smith, seeing somebody like Will Smith do that, and I like the other fucked up thing too is that he deserved the Oscar. He was very, very good in King Richard. He was unbelievable. And he's somebody I've been rooting for to get an Oscar for a while because I think he had that thing hanging over him of like, is he just kind of like a shit actor and just a great movie star, or is he like an okay actor and a great movie star? Or is he actually a good actor and a good movie star? And I thought it was the latter, is that he's a good actor and a good movie star. And that's the fucked up thing is he won that, and then it was just like it was ruined. It's just like I said, Ben, I wish I didn't care as much because I think that's the normal response to all this. Now I'm just like, I can never watch a Will Smith movie again without thinking about this, and this is completely ruining me.
Or Chris Rock movie.
Chris Rock, I'll happily watch. If
of course,
insane. It's just like I would double down and watch it, but like the Will Smith thing, I'm just like, this guy is clearly such an asshole, and like he did that knowing he can get away with it. And like the Hollywood, like the Hollywood collective applauded him for it after. It's just so like the idea of it is just so fucked up and like so dystopian that you're just like, you have like these elite people that will do this and get away with it. It's just super like, I hate it. It's gone from like, cause now you have like people, you have like, now we're just getting super off talking like political. You have people on the right who like hated Hollywood because of, they thought that they got too political and they were too liberal and all that. And like, I always thought that was such a cop out, but then now you have this side where I'm like, I don't know. These people are genuinely assholes who think they're better than everybody else and can do things like this and just get away with it and have like fucking Denzel Washington like hugging it out with you after. Like, I think that's the crazier part of it is the whole scope of it. The whole scope of it is the crazier parts being more than just the slap. You know, the slap itself is wild. Like just the fact that we saw that is wild. But just the whole scope of it, like these people just suck, and I think it's just it took so much air out of my balloon that it's just I think that's part of why. And this is the first time I've really had time to vent to it to people other than my 4-year-old and my wife. So that's the other part why I'm kind of getting it all out. But I think that's a bigger scope is that like Hollywood just really does fucking suck, and that's pretty depressing because it's like you go to these people to escape and then you realize, oh, these people are actually trash. So that's part of why it's such a big deal to me.
Hey, I mean, there's a reason why the Oscar ratings have been going down as the regular real world gets consistently worse and worse. I think the escapism of the glitz and glamour of the Oscars is losing its appeal to people. And this is just another, I mean, for you, like you're saying, this is another step in that direction to be like, okay, I'm completely disillusioned with what they're selling here.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of seeing like a second coming of like the fallout of the Gilded Age situation, right? That's kind of, if we're gonna get super political, historical, right? Or like, you know, it's just like, you know, at a certain point, it just kind of like, you know, like you said, like less the slap is a slap in the face to everybody else, but just like the like promenade of it all is very much a slap in the face to the world when the world is kind of in a chaotic fucking mess. So and most people are not having a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess with that,
Yeah.
Ben, what's your Twitter? I don't think you've plugged that yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't been actively tweeting. I've been on Twitter, like kind of just lurking. I think I retweeted a Jabuki tweet or something about the slap.
Oh, that was deleted the second after he tweeted it.
It might have been one of the ones he deleted. It's hard. I assume he deleted it because it's Jabuki. But yeah, other than just like lurking on Twitter, you can follow me there at Ben Sharon. I'm trying my absolute best. I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind on BB Can 10. Like the second I'm actually caught up on BB Can 10 and following it live. Like I'm following it live, but I'm not like following it. So yeah, maybe I'll actually start tweeting out about that in the next couple of weeks. It seems like, from what I've seen so far, a very good season. So if you're a Big Brother fan, or if you're a Survivor fan who's like sort of into Big Brother, I would definitely recommend going back and trying to catch up on Big Brother Canada 10. But yeah, otherwise you can follow the main channel on Twitter at WG Everything. You can follow the main channel on other platforms at Wicked Get Everything. That's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and then obviously YouTube. This is on the YouTube channel Better Radio, which is a podcasting network. Otherwise, this has been The Blindsiders, and we will be back next week to talk about episode 5 of Survivor 42. Until then, see you later.